Welcome to the June edition of our Reading and District Angling Association Fisheries Feedback video. We've migrated away from Plywood Studios this month to the lovely banks of Wilmot Lake, our newest fishery, which has been very popular with members and been fishing extremely well, as we'll hear later. As usual, we will cover the work of our fisheries team, the work that Del and Jim have been up to. There'll be a roundup of notable fish caught from our waters, and of course our monthly competition for the best fish picture that have been submitted. There will be fishing hints and tips as ever. This month we're going to be looking at stick float tactics, and of course we'll end with Jim Stansfield, our Deputy Fishery Officer, giving us his recommendations for fishing opportunities for the coming weeks. So now to fishery management, and over to you, Del.
Cheers, Martin. Right, what we've been up to this month? Well, strimming. Obviously the rivers have opened up. Me and Jim spent 2 weeks or more out strimming, and as I told you last month, if you're going to book an holiday, book it the first 2 weeks of June, because boy was that warm. My sort of claim to fame, if you like, was I was actually laid underneath the A33 bridge on the concrete because it was the coolest place I could find, and at my age Jim had to pick me up, yeah, it was proper warm, but it's all done now. All the venues have been done. We've had some really good feedback from some of the members via our Facebook page, and it's really appreciated that, you know, you guys have taken the time to say that, you know, what we've done is nice and whatever. It gives us a nice little bit of a glow, knowing that guys out there are appreciating what we're doing. We've also finished off the classroom that I mentioned last month. All the electrics are done. We've built a bit of a storage area in there, etc. So, you know, when the weather's not so nice, we can get the kids inside the classroom and just do sort of one-to-ones and you know, go through some pictures and just tips on how to do things, so the day isn't wasted for them. Unfortunately, we had a bit of a problem on Brownlee Pool, which, you know, is only to be expected this time of the year with DO crashes. Now, for those of you that don't know the sort of mechanics of what makes a lake crash dissolved oxygen wise, it's basically oxygen demand. That every body of water has got a certain amount of oxygen demand that needs to keep it alive, keep the fish alive, all the invertebrates, the weed, everything else. And when you get a sudden drop in atmospheric pressure, all of that oxygen that's dissolved within the water body rushes to the surface, and there's just basically nothing in that lake then for no oxygen left in that lake then for the fish and the invertebrates and the weed to feed off, hence why they die. We then need to get the best explanation I've heard, and I'm stealing this from somebody else, and I can't think who it was that mentioned it, is if you imagine a Coke bottle and you buy it off the shelf and you can see the bubbles in there, but when you open it up, all those gases within that bottle rise to the surface and come out, and it hisses. Well, that's basically exactly what happens in a lake. So when you get a low pressure, which is the outside, high pressure inside the bottle, you undo the top, the pressure equalises, all the gas comes out. Well, that's exactly what happens on a lake. So it's not so much about stopping those problems, because you will always have those problems. If you've got aerator in there 24/7, you will still have a ceiling where that lake needs to get that oxygen away. The difference becomes when you've got the facilities, the people and the know-how to deal with the problems. And fortunately, over the years, Reading and District, we've got all that in place. So we can react quite quickly to things like that. And, you know, this time is a case in point. We did lose some fish, obviously not that one. We did lose some fish, but we didn't lose as many as we could have done. So, you know, hats off to everybody that sort of rallies around and believes in me and what I'm telling them, and they provide the facilities for me to do my job. Right, CFAS are essentially the DEFRA version of the aquatic world. The Roach project is registered as a fish farm, and twice a year we have to have an inspection. We've got one coming up next week, which Jim's going to sit in on because I'm actually away. I'm going to have a couple of days off. So Jim's going to sit in on his first one. That's basically just to check the general health of our fish farm. It's KHV time. So essentially they're coming down, they'll monitor the water, they'll have a look at it, check all of our paperwork. There's a lot of paperwork involved in running a fish farm. They'll check that we haven't got any symptoms of KHV, our paperwork's in place, and hopefully we'll get a rubber stamp say that we're all good. We've been running now for about 4 years and we've never had a black mark against their name. So if we do, it'll be Jim's fault. Matches on Wilmots. There's been some matches held over the last 6 weeks or so, once a fortnight on a Wednesday evening. They've been a big success. There's some cracking weights coming out. This week it was one with 35 pound, probably a little bit more because once they got to 35 pound they stopped weighing because he'd beaten everybody else by a country mile. But there's good backup weights, 19 pounds, 15 pounds, whatever. Now for a 3-hour match in the middle of the week, that's not a bad average. So we're going to do one more. We were going to stop this last match, so yesterday's. We were going to stop, but they've asked us to do one more, so we're going to do one more, and we're going to just suck it and see. If plenty of people turn up and it's a success, then we'll run it on. But I encourage anybody that wants to do anything like that, get yourselves along. It's a good evening. You can get yourself a burger and something to eat, a lasagna or whatever in the hut. Have a cup of tea before or after the match, whichever you like, and it's a good little bit of sport. That's about it from me for this month. Next month we're going to be, things start slowing down a little bit. It's a little bit of more maintenance type of thing, so we'll be out just trimming the odd bits and pieces. So we haven't got anything major planned. It's just all about just maintaining the status quo, and to be perfectly honest, having a bit of a breather after all the hard work we've been doing over the spring and winter.
And now it's time to look at the gallery of notable fish pictures that have been submitted for the month of June. And you'll notice plenty of river fish in this category, which is great to see.
Right, notable fish pictures. Now, we get a lot through our Facebook page, and I can't stress enough, this isn't a big fish competition. This is a picture competition. So what we want to see is we want to see big smiles and notable fish. Now, what's notable for one person isn't notable for another. So, you know, it's about the small dace, it's about the small perch with a young lad with a big smile on his face, his first fish, for instance. There's lots on there this week, or this month should I say. Barbel. Barbel seem to be the predominant species, and it's really, really good from a fisheries manager point of view, and particularly somebody like myself. I've invested a hell of a lot of time and effort into the Kennet, with a lot of habitat improvement works and juvenile shelters, and I could list it forever and a day. And it's really, really good from my point of view to be seeing small fish, because those small fish are the future. Everyone's caught up with the big fish, the big barbel, etc. And yes, it's fantastic to catch a 14, 15, 13, whatever. But for me personally, as a fisheries manager that's, you know, invested a lot of time and effort into trying to improve our river, those small fish are like, they're fantastic, and it makes everything, all the winters and the mud and everything else, it makes it all worth it. So keep them coming. If you catch a fish of £2, for instance, get it on the Facebook page, because it just gives me a warm glow, and you really want to be trying to give me a warm glow, believe me. Right, there's lots of really good pictures in there this month. We've got a few of the young lads, junior members, catching some fish, as I've said. Lots of big smiles. But one of the biggest one, and one of the nicest guys you'd ever wish to meet, is a guy called Tariq Zeb. Now, Tariq, there is a hat behind the counter down at the Farnham Flint hut, and I'd love you to come down, stick it on your head and wear it with pride, mate. It's fantastic to see you catching carp, and I know how much effort you put into it. So there you go, well done, Tariq. There's also a t-shirt at Woodley Tackle for you as well. Hopefully it will fit you. Just don't eat too many pies beforehand. So yep, that's the notable fish pictures. Keep them coming, gents, and like I say, pay particular attention to the smaller ones, because we really love to see them. Cheers, thank you.
And now we're going to hear from Jim Stansfield on prospects for fishing for the coming weeks. The weather's certainly improved, Jim. The rivers are in fine condition, as are the lakes. So what do you recommend, Jim?
Yeah, so as Dale's just mentioned, there is plenty of barbel showing along the Kennet at the moment, and that's along all stretches as well. Even some of the very underrated stretches where you don't see many anglers normally, they've been chucking up a few. So definitely get yourselves out there and try for a few of them. My personal preference of it is rove about. Don't sort of sit too long in a spot. Make sure you keep mobile and keep roving in and out of swims, and you should pick a few up. In terms of carp, on Englefield and Flint, most of the carp there have got the spawning out of the way now, so they're pretty up for it for a bit of grub at the minute. So if you can get down for a few morning sessions or a quick overnighter, it's definitely worth it. And in terms of perch as well, you want to be targeting. The Thames has been chucking up quite a few recently to well over the £3 mark, and the Kennet's been chucking up a few as well. So get yourselves down there, moving about again, maybe good for the roving lure anglers, or someone with a few chopped lobs plotting up in a swim and a little canal cut or something. You could do quite well on an afternoon. So best of luck, guys. Hopefully you have a few.
Okay, that's it for this month. We hope you've enjoyed this edition. Please keep those photos coming in. We'll nick them obviously off our own Facebook page, but you can email them directly to promo@rdaa@gmail.com. Have a great time out there, and tight lines.